Around the time when America was still in the process of getting started as a country, around 1861, there was a great divide. The country split into two sides named the Union and the Confederates. They fought in what was called the Civil War. Now, these two states were obviously fighting over something, but what was it? It was mainly slavery. There were many other reasons, but today we're just talking about a battle that happened during the Civil War. The battle in particular was the biggest battles during the Civil War. This was the Battle of Gettysburg. This was a 3-day all-out warfare between the two sides. It started on July 1st and went all the way until July 3rd, 1863. The two armies were led by many different generals, with most important being George D. Meade, who was an Army officer and engineer, John F. Reynolds, a respected senior officer, and someone who commanded the Potomac Army, and Winfield S. Hancock, a president in 1880, and an officer. There are many more officers and generals on the Union side, but these, in my opinion, are the most important. With the Confederate side, they also had many generals, with the most important, in my opinion, being Robert E. Lee, who in fact led this attack, James Longstreet, an officer and diplomat, Richard S. Ewell, and A.P. Hill, who acted as general in battle. Again, there were way too many for us to get into. So, what was the reason for Robert to conduct this battle? Robert wanted to try and change the tide of the Civil War with attacking Pennsylvania, and to either get the North to try and offer for peace, or to get the countries like Britain and European countries to notice the new government in the South. Now, let's talk about armies and strategies. The Northern Army was the Army of Potomac. It was a group of soldiers in the Union formed shortly after the First Battle of Bull Run. This army made up most of the Union's men in the battle. The Confederates had an army of Northern Virginia fighting for them. The two armies had different amounts of troops, with the Confederates having more and outnumbering the Union. Now for strategies, first of all, Robert E. Lee, the leader of the Confederates, had 3 main corps, all of them led by generals I stated earlier, with the first corps being led by James Longstreet, second by R.S. Ewell, and third by A.P. Hill. While the Union wasn't as prepared, though they were still prepared enough to get through, one of the most important pushes that was strategized by the Confederates was the Pickett's Charge, which changed the tide of the battle. This was a mistake from the Confederates and could easily have been avoided, and on the third and final day, General George Pickett, the guy the push was named after, who was led by Robert E. Lee, was trying to capture Cemetery Ridge. Robert's thinking was depicted like Armistead Lindsey Long, a Confederate brigadier, as there was a weak point, where Cemetery Ridge, sloping westward, formed the depression through which the Emmitsburg Road passes. Perceiving that by forcing the Federal lines at that point and turning towards Cemetery Hill, Hay's division would be taken in flank and remainder would be neutralized. Lee determined to attack at that point, and execution was assigned to Longstreet. Yet this attack ultimately failed and costed the Confederates the biggest loss within the Civil War. Over 51,000 estimated casualties because of this battle. After the war, bodies lay all over the battlefield in Pennsylvania. The only things that were there were wood planks and pencil-drawn memorials. So a cemetery was created there, where the battle had happened. Over 3,500 Union soldiers were buried there, and the plan for burial happened over 4 months after the battle with the approval of the Pennsylvania governor at the time. Confederate bodies were sent to the southern states, most of which in Virginia, and that concludes the Battle of Gettysburg, with the Union taking the victory. Now, there were many other things I have left out, which may go on for too long, so I couldn't fit in everything like all 120 generals and the other strategies created to attack Pennsylvania. Anyways, thank you for watching, and thank you to these amazing people who helped.